At Sunday dinner, Dad declared, "Your brother's the only one who works hard around here." The whole table clapped. I smiled and said, "Then he won't need the $3,000 I cover for his rent each month." My brother choked on his drink, Mom whispered his name, and then the room erupted in panic as secrets started spilling. I'm sitting at Sunday dinner, right across from my brother Kyle, when my dad raises his glass and says the one sentence that changes everything. "Your brother's the only one who works hard around here." The whole table claps. Not even a hesitant clap. A real applause, like Kyle just cured cancer instead of crashing on my couch for 9 months without paying rent. I don't blink. I don't shout. I just say, "Then he won't need the $3,000 I cover for his rent each month." And just like that, Kyle chokes on his wine. Mom whispers his name like a prayer. The room falls dead quiet, but let me back up. My name's Cindy. I'm 27, live in Spokane, Washington, and I've always been the quiet one in my family. I keep my head down, work, pay my bills, and don't expect much. I'm the kind of person who shows up early, brings a side dish, and washes the Tupperware before giving it back. So when I got a text from Mom on Thursday, Sunday dinner, 6 p.m. sharp, huge news. "We're celebrating Kyle," I actually laughed. "Celebrate Kyle," I almost wrote back, "Did he finally find the TV remote?" But I didn't. Instead, I asked, "What for?" She didn't answer. A few hours later, she followed up. "Your dad invited everyone. Grandma's coming. Uncle Mike, Aunt Lydia, even Sarah and Dean are driving in. It's big." That stopped me. Everyone, for Kyle, my brother who hasn't held a real job in over a year, who ghosted the family group chat for weeks unless he needed money, who I've been supporting, quietly, for 9 months. I was curious. If my dad orchestrated this whole dinner, I wanted to know what the huge news could possibly be. Sunday rolled around. I walked into the house and it looked like someone tried to copy a Hallmark movie off Pinterest. Streamers, a cheap cake from Safeway with "congratulations" in smudged red frosting, extra chairs crammed around the table. And the smell, Mom's baked ziti. That only comes out for holidays or divorce settlements. I pulled her aside. "What are we celebrating?" She just smiled and said, "Wait until everyone's seated." That's not how our family works. We don't do suspense. We do passive-aggressive digs and paper plates. People were laughing. Grandma clapped me on the back. Uncle Mike already opened a beer. Kyle showed up 15 minutes late, of course, sunglasses on his head, like he just stepped off a movie set. He kissed Grandma's cheek and called Aunt Lydia darlin', like he was auditioning for a role. Then Dad stood up, glass in hand. Big, stupid smile. He tapped the glass. "To Kyle," he said, "the first one in the family to buy a car off the lot, a 2020 BMW, full package, paid for by his own hard work." The room erupted. Grandma clapped. Rachel gasped. Dean did his stupid whistle thing. And I just sat there. Kyle pulled out his phone like a magician, revealing the final card trick. Pictures of the car, the dealership sign, the leather seats. Silver, shiny, stupid. I asked, "How do you pay for that?" He shrugged. "Been grinding, saving, making moves." "What moves?" I asked. He dodged, and then Dad dropped the real insult. "Your brother's the only one who works hard around here." The table laughed. Applauded. That's when I calmly said, "Then he won't need the $3,000 I cover for his rent each month." Kyle choked. His face turned red. Mom whispered, "Kyle." And then the real unraveling began. Sarah, my cousin, leaned in. "Wait, you pay his rent." Uncle Mike nearly dropped his fork. $3,000 a month, are you kidding?" I didn't say another word. Kyle tried to recover. "It's not like that. She helped out once or twice, but I'm paying her back." Aunt Lydia raised her eyebrows. 3,000 isn't once or twice." And then came the slow collapse of the golden boy. Kyle pushed back from the table. "I had savings, okay? I've got projects. You guys don't understand how business works." Dad jumped in, frustrated. "Enough, Kyle's doing something with his life. He's building connections. He's young, ambitious." "You call that success?" I asked. "You don't support your family. You're always negative," Dad snapped. Before I could answer, Mom cut in. "What savings, Kyle?" He blinked, panicked. "I had some freelance money, took a small loan, manageable." Mom froze. "You took out a loan for a car?" Silence. Grandma, who hadn't spoken all night, said, "You bought a car with borrowed money." Kyle waved it off. "Not a big deal. You've got to look successful to be successful." Rachel leaned in. "So you're in debt for a car you can't afford while your sister's been paying your rent?" Kyle went red. I'll pay her back, he mumbled. Aunt Lydia. When, with what? He didn't answer. Uncle Mike leaned back. Wait, didn't I lend you $500 last year? And then the stories started. Everyone had one. Everyone. Mom stood and left the room. Dad glared at me. You didn't need to humiliate him. I looked him in the eye. I'm tired of pretending. Kyle stormed out. Dad followed. Mom never came back downstairs. I helped clean up. Dishes, crumbs, silence. Later that night, the house looked dim. I walked out alone. No apology, no text, no call. I figured Kyle would disappear like he always does, wait for it to blow over. But this time, no one forgot. Not this time. And what happened next? Well, let's just say, this story is far from over. What would you have said at that dinner? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear what happens when Kyle's secrets finally catch up with him. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for Kyle to fall apart. After the Sunday dinner explosion, he vanished. No texts, no calls, not even a "can I borrow $20" message, which was weird. Because Kyle usually comes back fast after a blow-up. Ghosts people, lets it cool, then slides back into the conversation like nothing happened. But this time, silence. I didn't hear from Dad either. Not surprising. He probably blamed me for the whole scene. The golden boy got publicly roasted, and I was the one who lit the match. Then, late one Tuesday, I got a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was flat. Not sad, not angry, just tired. Call me when you have a second. Kyle needs help. I rolled my eyes. What now? Car out of gas, locked out of his apartment, forgot how rent works. I called her back that night. He's drowning, Mom said. I didn't speak, just waited. It all came spilling out. The BMW loan, not small, $19,000, not even counting the interest. Kyle had already missed 2 payments. The dealership was calling every day. He was dodging them. Insurance lapsed. His landlord was threatening eviction. But that's not the worst part. Apparently, the last 2 months of rent I thought I paid for, Kyle didn't send them in full. He used part of the money as a down payment on the car and told himself he'd catch up later. Now he was $3,000 behind. In debt, no savings, no steady clients, just excuses. What does Dad think? I asked. She hesitated. He still thinks Kyle will turn it around. He says it's just a rough patch. A rough patch? This wasn't a pothole. It was a sinkhole. I told Mom the truth. I'm not sending another dollar. She didn't argue, and that silence, that was new. 2 nights later, there was a knock at my apartment door. It was 9:30. I looked through the peephole. Kyle, no jacket, hoodie. Bags under his eyes. He looked like finals week in college all over again, except no caffeine or cramming could fix this. He didn't say anything. Just stood there holding his phone like he forgot what it was for. I opened the door. He sat at my kitchen table. Quiet, no fast talking, no fake confidence, no buzzwords about clients or branding. He said, I screwed everything up. I don't even know how to fix it. I didn't yell. I didn't hit him with a lecture. I opened my laptop, and I showed him line by line what his life now cost. Car loan, interest, rent, insurance, gas, groceries, credit card minimums, phone bill. He sat there staring at the screen like it was a foreign language. You've been coasting, I said. Time to start bleeding. He nodded, didn't even argue. The next morning, I called Sarah, our cousin, who'd offered him a warehouse job months ago. She wasn't thrilled but agreed to give him one shot. Then I called a friend who needed a dishwasher at her restaurant. She could give him night shifts. He started both within the week. And then, out of desperation, he picked up a third job, overnight stalker at a grocery store on the north side of town. It was brutal. 3 jobs, no breaks. No handouts. One night at 3 a.m., I got a text. Just a photo of his shoes soaked, cracked, laces frayed, and a one-liner. I can't feel my feet. I didn't send sympathy. I wrote back, keep going. Dad called me a few days later. I didn't answer the first time. When I finally picked up, he said, You're being too hard on him. Kyle's not built for this kind of labor. He has a brain for business, not box lifting. I told him, then maybe he should have bought a whiteboard, not a BMW. He hung up. But I knew I was right. Kyle was finally feeling the cost of his choices. And slowly, I saw something change. He started packing his own lunch, waking up on time, tracking every dollar. He even stopped posting selfies in front of sports cars that weren't his. He wasn't perfect. He was exhausted, grumpy, and constantly sore. But for once I saw a man, not a spoiled boy. 6 weeks in, I noticed something strange. Silence. No sarcastic memes. No guess what my manager said texts. No photos of freezer burns or busted sneakers. Day 3 I called, no answer. Day 4 I texted. You alive? Nothing. Next morning I got the call, Mom's voice cracked. He collapsed at work last night. He was at the overnight shift, lifted a box, sat down for a minute, and never got back up. They rushed him to urgent care. Dehydrated, borderline anemic, blood pressure tanked. He'd been running on black coffee and peanut butter crackers. I drove straight there. When I walked into that tiny beige room, he looked like a ghost. Pale, hooked to an IV, eyes half shut. He looked at me, gave a weak smile. Didn't want to call you. Figured you'd say I told you so. I handed him a protein bar and said, shut up and eat. That weekend, Mom called a family meeting. Everyone came. Even Uncle Mike, who usually only shows up for football or free food. We packed into the living room, Mom on the recliner, Grandma on the floral couch. Kyle sat with a blanket over his lap, quiet. Dad opened his mouth first, like always. Kyle's proven himself, he's shown grit. Now it's time we support him. Maybe refinance the loan, get him into a studio, we can help him build again. He looked right at me. I stayed silent. Then Dad said, we could help him with a down payment on a more practical car. I've got a guy who can roll the old loan into a personal credit line under the family name. Low interest. That's when Kyle finally spoke. I already sold the BMW. Dead silence. Aunt Lydia turned to him. You what? Last week, Kyle said. Drove it to a used lot, got enough to clear most of the loan. Still owe $4,000, I'll pay that off myself. Mom's face was a mix of pride and disbelief. Kyle kept going. Bought a used Corolla. It's ugly, but it runs. No loan, I'm done pretending. Then he turned to me. I made a list of everything I owe you. I'm going to pay you back, all of it, even if it takes me a year. I'm not taking another dime from this family. You could feel the room shift. Even Dad had no comeback. You didn't have to do all that, he muttered. We would have helped. Kyle shook his head. That's the problem. You always did. That night as we walked to our cars, I stopped him. You really sold it, he nodded. Drove it off the lot like a king, sold it back like a man who finally got humbled. I didn't say anything. I just watched him get into a dented old Corolla with a squeaky door and a bumper sticker half ripped off. And for the first time, I believed him. This wasn't a phase. This was real. Ever had to make someone hit rock bottom to save them? Share your story below. Like and subscribe if you're ready to see what Kyle does next, because what he builds from here shocked us all. It's been a month since Kyle collapsed on the job. A full 30 days of him working 3 shifts a week, warehouse, restaurant, and stocking shelves, while juggling overdue bills, a beat-up Corolla, and whatever pride he's still trying to rebuild. I keep expecting him to quit. Old Kyle would have already staged a dramatic exit, posted some vague Instagram quote about cutting toxic people, and disappeared for a week to reset. But this new version, he shows up. He packs lunches. He wears the same busted sneakers until the soles flap, and he doesn't ask for anything. One Tuesday, in the middle of a boring budget meeting at my office, I see a notification on my phone. New group chat created. Family for real this time. The name alone stops me. Everyone's in it. Me, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Sarah, Dean, Uncle Mike, Aunt Lydia, even Kyle. He sends the first message. No emojis, no jokes, just a photo, a spreadsheet. Color-coded, neat, real, income, expenses, loan payments, rent, groceries, gas, 7 weeks' worth. The same guy who once Venmo'd me $7 with the caption, rentish, just sent the entire family his financial breakdown. Then another message. Signed up for a financial literacy workshop this weekend. No, I'm not being held hostage. Anyone want in? I stare at the screen. This is the same man who once asked if overdraft meant his card had too much money in it. Aunt Lydia replies first. I'm in, been meaning to learn that stuff anyway. Then Mom, proud of you, honey, that's huge. Grandma sends a voice note by accident. It's just her humming Wheel of Fortune. We all ignore it. Dad doesn't say anything, not right away, and that says more than anything else. That weekend, we have Sunday dinner again. No balloons, no announcement cake. No dad standing up to deliver a speech about ambition. Just regular food. Real conversation. And Kyle shows up early, not just on time early. He brings groceries, not takeout, not a six-pack. Actual groceries, carrots, onions, pasta, even a bag of frozen garlic bread. He helps Mom in the kitchen. Washes dishes without being asked. Doesn't scroll his phone under the table. After dinner, he pulls me aside, hands me a small envelope. No speech, just open it when you're home. Later that night, I do. Inside, 10 crisp $100 bills and a handwritten note. 1 month's rent, real this time, no interest, just gratitude, more coming. I stare at it for a long time. It's not the money that gets me. It's the fact that he followed through. No reminders, no guilt trip. No hey, I'm good for it text, just the payment. Quiet, intentional. Then Mom calls me a few days later. You know what Kyle's been doing on Thursdays? She asks. No, turns out every Thursday night after work, Kyle's been going to Grandma's. Not to crash, not to beg, but to help. He set up her online banking, rewrote her passwords on sticky notes, showed her how to avoid scam emails, replaced her kitchen light bulbs, ordered her prescriptions online, didn't post about it, didn't tell anyone, just did it. And then, out of nowhere, Dad calls me. For a second, I think it's a mistake. He says, I've been watching him. And I've been thinking about what you said about accountability. There's a pause. You were right, I should have seen it sooner. He needed consequences. You gave him that. Coming from my father, that's basically a full-blown apology. Then he says something I wasn't ready for. I'm proud of you too, not just him. I sit there in my office chair, phone pressed to my ear, completely stunned. Dad always saw Kyle as the risk-taker, the hustler, the dreamer, me. I was the safe one. The boring one, the one who played it too safe to ever impress him. But now, he sees me. Then it happens, quietly, no announcement, no fireworks, just a ping from my banking app. $14,000, deposit received. And a message from Kyle. Paid in full, thank you for everything, and for not giving up on me even when you probably should have. I read it twice, then a third time. Every dollar I ever gave him returned. No excuses. No payment plan, just done. Closure, not just for my bank account, but for all of it. That night, Kyle calls me, doesn't even say hello, just, don't make plans this Saturday. And don't overdress. What are we doing? It's time I showed you something. Saturday rolls around. He picks me up in the Corolla. It still smells like hard work and spilled Gatorade, but the seats are vacuumed and the windows are clean. He's wearing a button-up shirt I've never seen before. Hair freshly trimmed. Beard shaved down. He even smells like drugstore cologne and detergent. We drive for 25 minutes to a strip mall on the edge of town. Old Spokane. The kind of place with a nail salon, vape shop, and a closed video store with sun-faded movie posters still in the windows. He parks in front of an empty unit with a taped-up sign in the window. KJ Creative Design. Print and strategy, I blink. What is this? He hands me an envelope. Inside, 2 things, a certificate, financial literacy and small business fundamentals, and a key. I signed the lease last week, he says. It's not much. But it's mine. We walk in. The place smells like sawdust and fresh paint. 1 desk, a second-hand MacBook, a chunky printer, shelves stacked with mock-ups for flyers and local business cards. There's a whiteboard with notes, deadlines, doodles, a rough logo for a dog grooming startup, a print order list for a taco truck. Kyle turns to me. I've been building this since January, quietly. Sarah helped me with the paperwork. I didn't want to say anything until it was real. Then he pulls out another envelope, smaller, unsealed, a check, $1,200, for Mom. She helped with groceries when I moved out. I didn't forget. He doesn't look rich. His jeans are frayed, his boots are still soaked from the snow, but he looks steady, like someone who knows what's in his account and what it needs to cover. As we walk out, he locks the door. I used to think success was about looking like you had it all. He pockets the key. Turns out it's about knowing how to keep what you have and build from it. Then, almost like an afterthought, he says something that hits me harder than any of it. I'm not scared of work anymore. I'm scared of wasting time. Ever had someone shock you with how much they grew? Let us know in the comments. And if you're still with me, hit like and subscribe, because this story isn't quite over. The final twist is coming. And you won't believe what Kyle says at Sunday dinner. The Sunday after Kyle showed me his office, things felt different. Not just with him, with all of us. There was no tension in the house. No one waiting for the other shoe to drop. No one bracing for Dad's voice to rise or for Kyle to spin some big plan that only worked in theory. Instead, Kyle showed up early. Again. And this time, he brought groceries and a dessert, store-bought lemon bars with a handwritten note. Didn't make these, but I made it here. He helped Mom stir sauce, chopped onions like a pro, and asked Grandma how her doctor appointment went. He even complimented Dean on a job promotion he normally wouldn't have remembered. Then after dinner, just as people were leaning back, full and relaxed, Kyle stood up. No glass in hand, no tapping the table, just stood there. "I want to thank my sister," he said, looking directly at me, "for not protecting me when I didn't deserve it. For not saving me when I needed to fall." The room froze. "You didn't bail me out," he said. "You backed off just enough for me to hit bottom, and then you showed me where the ladder was." No one said a word. Even Grandma, who always has a comment, just sat there, her hands folded. Then Kyle turned to Dad. "You once said I was the only one in this family who worked hard." His voice didn't crack. But mine almost did just hearing him. "You were wrong," Kyle said. "It was her, the whole time." You could have heard a pin drop. Dad looked like someone pulled the air out of him. He didn't argue, didn't roll his eyes. He just stood up, looked at me, and gave a slow nod. No speech, no sarcasm, just acknowledgement. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the background character at the family table. I felt seen. After everyone started cleaning up, Kyle walked me to my car. He opened the door for me, then leaned against it for a second. "I'm building something real now," he said. I nodded. "I know. When I hire my first full-time employee," he looked at me, "I want you to help me interview them. Because you're the reason I even get that chance." He meant it, not as a favor, not as guilt, but as something earned. I drove home with the windows half down, letting the cool Spokane air hit my face. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was carrying my family. I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were finally walking beside each other. Final part coming next. Are you the responsible one in your family? Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to hear how this all ends, with a twist nobody saw coming. 2 months after Kyle's Sunday speech, things got quiet again, but in the best way. No chaos, no drama. No surprise emergencies. Just consistency. Kyle was still working his jobs, but slowly winding down the third shift. The warehouse offered him more hours, and he was finally starting to make enough through his design side hustle to offset the restaurant work. He budgeted like a soldier, writing everything down, double-checking receipts, canceling unnecessary subscriptions. But that wasn't the real surprise. The real surprise came on a random Thursday evening. I got a knock on my door. There was Kyle holding a small blue folder and a bag of takeout from our favorite Thai place. He came in, kicked off his shoes, sat at the table and said, "I need you to look at something." Inside the folder was a set of forms. An application to become an LLC, business license, tax ID paperwork, a real business account with a real local credit union. He didn't just have a logo now, he had a company, KJ Creative. I asked, "You're really doing this?" He nodded. "Already have 3 small contracts lined up, local businesses. One's a dog groomer who wants flyers. Another's a breakfast diner looking for a rebrand. And there's this guy who runs a landscaping business who wants social media help." He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was building. And here's the kicker, he was doing it quietly. No Instagram posts, no humble brags, no dramatic entrepreneur quotes in his bio. Just work. Honest, tiring, real work. I helped him review the forms, and when he left, I noticed something on the back page, a tiny checklist. At the top, he'd written in neat block letters, "Pay everyone back before profit." And beside it, he'd already marked off my name, Mom's too. It wasn't just about money, it was about restoration. The final twist came 2 weeks later. We were back at Sunday dinner. Kyle came in with bags of groceries again. This time he brought a bottle of sparkling cider and a small chocolate cake. No writing on it, just plain. When we sat down, Mom looked around and said, "We didn't forget anything, right?" That's when Kyle stood up again. This time he was holding a folded piece of paper. He looked at Dad, and he said something none of us expected. "Before this year, I blamed everyone for where I was. I told myself I just needed one break, one investor, one cheerleader." He paused. "But the truth is, I didn't need a hero, I needed a consequence." He turned to me, and I got one, the hardest one, but the one that changed everything. Then he walked around the table, handed Dad the folded paper and said, "This is for you." Dad opened it. It was a loan statement. Balance, $0.00. "I paid it off last Friday," Kyle said. "The BMW, every cent. Took 2 side hustles, sold half my stuff, ate ramen noodles for a month, but it's done." Dad didn't say anything. He just stared at the paper like it was a foreign language. Then Kyle added, "You once told me I had vision. You were right. But I finally realized vision without discipline is just a hallucination." That one hit deep. Even Uncle Mike stopped chewing for a second, and then came the full circle moment. Kyle sat back down and said, "I've hired my first contract worker, a local kid from Spokane Falls Community College. And next month, if things go well, I'll need a second." He looked at me. "You still in for interviews?" I smiled. "Absolutely." Then he added, "And before anyone says it, I'm not asking for help anymore. I'm offering it." Later that night, as people drifted home, I stayed behind to help Mom with dishes. She was quiet. When we got to the last plate, she turned to me. "You didn't just help him," she said. "You changed him." I shook my head. "No, he changed himself. I just got out of the way." She smiled. "That was the bravest part." 1 month later, Kyle made one final move I didn't see coming. He drove to Dad's office, sat him down, and handed him a box. Inside was an old plaque Dad had given him years ago that said, "Dream big, risk more, never settle." Only now, Kyle had scratched something into the back with a wood burner tool. "And take responsibility." He didn't just give Dad back a plaque, he gave him proof that he was done pretending, done borrowing, done running, and that his success wasn't a performance, it was earned. Final question. What would you have done if you were Cindy? Would you have let him fall? Tell me in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because next week, we dive into a new story, one where betrayal isn't just personal, it's professional.